Hello, welcome to episode 273. We are going to be making an improved version of the freeze scroll. So I've added some sound, I've added some particles, and I've also changed the way we target the player. So we're going to be targeting the player by UUID now, which should be a bit better. Again, there might be room for improvements. There probably is. If anyone knows any, please chuck comments down in the description. Come here, pig. I need to test. Excuse my voice, a little bit croaky today. We're still in 1.19.4 and we're still using the ideas from ArcticPandaPro. Okay, pick. There we go. So, as you can see, it didn't freeze him at all because at the moment I'm just using levitation and glowing as an example so we can easily see what's actually happening. If I throw it, doesn't do anything to me, only affects other entities. So what we'll do is we'll change it from glowing and levitating to slowness and jump boost, and we'll freeze them in place. Okay. That is what we're going to be making now. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is set up the scoreboards. So we'll have the same as last time. We'll have a score to check if they've thrown the pattern on the floor, the flower banner pattern. That's what we're using as a magic scroll. So scoreboard, objectives, add, used, freeze, dropped a flower banner pattern. Done. And now we want one to store an ID. Scoreboard, objectives, add ID. Dummy. Done. Players have a UUID, which is made up of 4 numbers, and it's saved as 4 integers, I believe. If we do data get entity at p, so myself, my UUID, there they are. Those are my 4 different numbers, and they're different for everyone. Now we could check all 4, but I'm going to just check the first one. I'm going to pick the first one because I think it's pretty unlikely that 2 players are going to have the same. Any of these are going to be the same. So we're just going to check the first one there. Now, maybe I'm completely wrong and it's good and lots of people have the same number, but I'm pretty sure they don't. So we're going to risk it. So that's what we're going to use, that first number from my UUID. I suppose I'd better give myself a banner pattern as well. Just call it give. Last time we gave this a description and lore, so there's no point doing that again. We'll save some time. We'll just give flower, banner, pattern, and we'll give it the custom tag. Scroll, freeze, that'll do. Done. Let's make sure we press that. Let's get one of those. Now let's make the controller. Okay. Now, is this version better? I think it's more accurate. It should be better. I bet it can still be improved, but this is my next attempt. So let's call this controller. And we will set it to repeat. So first thing, execute as all players whose scores equal used.freeze equals 1 or higher. Store result as a score on that player, their ID, run data get from an entity from that player, UUID, the first one, 0. Okay, so that's going to save my score. Now, we're going to do the same beginning, execute. So this time execute at all players, scores equals, used freeze equals 1 or higher, run tag any entity whose type equals item, whose NBT equals item, and inside the item we search for a tag, And inside the tag, we'll search for the one we just gave the item. Scroll freeze. And we'll limit it to 1. And we'll put the sort to nearest. And we'll be adding freeze scroll. Okay. And I'm going to make this conditional. So it's only going to run if this one runs. Okay, next. We are going to execute as any entity. Type equals item, tag equals free scroll, store result as a score on yourself into the ID, run data get from an entity from yourself, get the thrower's ID, their first one. So the thrower's ID is my ID because I threw it. Done. Let's do a little test. Scoreboard, objectives, set display, onto the sidebar, ID, turn that on, throw this. Okay, yep, looks good. The wiggly number at the top, that's his ID, and he's holding my ID in his score, and I've got my ID in my score. Okay, better scoreboard. Scoreboard, players, reset all players, ID, and use freeze. Right, just get rid of those. Okay. And let's clean up that thing. We know that's working, so let's remove that from the sidebar as well. Next, in fact, we can make this conditional. Let's make that conditional. So it's only going to. So these are only going to run if this one does. Next, we will execute as any entity. Type equals item. Tag equals freeze scroll. So this is going to, for every other item, this is going to stop there. It's only going to work if it finds something called freeze scroll. So we can now do MBT equals on ground is true. We will run tag yourself, freeze scroll active. Better spell that correctly, and we'll say we're adding that. So we've thrown it. I've copied my ID. The item has copied my ID onto itself as a score. We've called it freeze scroll as it flies through the air, and as it lands on the ground, we've called it freeze scroll active. Okay, so let's do something at the active freeze scroll. Now, this one has to be unconditional because this will give it free scroll when it's in the air. This will give it free scroll when it's in the air, and this one will give it my UUID, and then it will land. So these would no longer be running. So this one has to stay unconditional. This one, however, can be conditional. So it's just landed on the ground. Let's execute at any entity, type equals item, tag equals freeze scroll active, as any entity with a distance equals 0 to 3. That's our range. So where it lands, any entity within 3 blocks is going to be affected, unless the score at S, so unless the score of that entity, their ID, equals any entity type equals item, tag equals freeze scroll active, limit equals 1, sort equals nearest, ID, run. So we've thrown it on the floor, it's got the tag freeze scroll active, we execute at it as any entity within 3 blocks. So we're now executing as ourselves, unless my score is the same as the nearest freeze scroll that's on the floor. We will run effect, give myself or the entity which is currently targeting jump boost for 5 seconds, 1 to 8. Now we'll hide the particles. Okay. Let's change jump boost so we can visually test it much better. Let's change jump boost to levitation for 1 second. An amplifier of, I don't know, 1 will do, no, 0 will do. Okay, so we're going to give it levitation. Done. And now I'm going to control middle mouse and just copy all of that. This will be conditional as well. Let's give it something else that's pretty visual. Glowing would be a good visual one. Let's give it glowing for 1 second. Yeah, that's okay. Done. So if it's not me and it is an entity, it's within 3 blocks, it's going to get levitation and glowing. Now let's add some effects. So let's execute at entity type equals item, tag equals freeze scroll active. We'll have a particle. Yeah, let's do a particle. Run particle. Is there's a snow particle there? Snowflake. Snowflake would be a good one. And let's lift it up a bit because our item is right on the ground. So let's lift it up a block. And we'll. How big do we want it? I don't know. 1, 1, 1. Speed. I usually put speed pretty low, so 0. And let's do quite a high count, 500. Let's see how that works. Done. And we make that conditional actually. So we throw it, it lands on the ground. We give the entity effects. We play particles or display particles. Now let's play a sound. In fact, I will control middle mouse, copy that whole block. And I'll just remove the particle bit. So we're executing at freeze scroll active again. Play sound. Oh, I want a good fluff sound. In this version, the breeze isn't out yet, so we can't use breeze sounds. One of them might be quite good. What about an entity bat? Yeah, there it is. I knew they've got a wing sound, haven't they? Take off. Bled on the master channel at all players. At the coordinates. Let's make it a little bit quieter. Let's lower the pitch a little bit. Minimum volume. Okay, so we've got the sound, we've got the particles, we've got the effects. I think now we just kill everything. Let's clear out that command. So let's just kill any entity, tag equals freeze scroll active. Should we put type item on there as well? I'm never really sure if this is more efficient or not to put the item first and the tag, or just have tag. Someone who knows more about it and has looked into it would have to check that. So that's the scroll dead. Okay, and then we better reset the score. Yeah, better reset my score. Used freeze score. Scoreboard. Players. Reset. For all players. Used freeze. Done. Now actually we make that conditional as well. So we've got a lot of conditional blocks, which I like because it means then at the moment, the only two that are checking is that one and that one. And this one is stopping as soon as it doesn't find a tagged item. So it's not getting to the NBT. That's nice. And this one is stopping as soon as it doesn't find someone with a score. So that's nice. We're not doing too much work. Okay, so let's give it a try. Let's get a little fenced area. Fence, piggy, 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 piggy. There we go. Let's put our little fence down. That's not a fence. Let's put our little fence. Oh, we won't have a fence then. Okay, pig. Glowing and levitation. That is exactly what we wanted. And I shouldn't get it. Come back here. Come here. This is why we were going to put a fence down. And I don't get it. Okay. Now, we are checking if the nearest scroll to you has the same ID. So I still think that if two people threw scrolls down at exactly the same time, and yours was nearer, you wouldn't be affected. But I mean, what are the chances of two people throwing them at exactly the same time? Pretty small. But anyway, much better. We don't have the problem now that you could have had someone standing up really high and throwing it down on the floor and removing someone else's freeze exempt tag that we had in the last version. This version should stop that happening. And we've got the added bonus that we do have. Yoink. That didn't work. Yoink. We do have the nice particles and the nice sound. That's interesting. Why didn't that one work? Let's have a look. If we take it here, throw it. Okay, the reason why that one's not working is because we've got so many conditionals. It's not found an entity other than me, and it can't give the effect to me because I am exempt. So it's coming here, and it says, well, I found free scroll active. I give it the tag. Then it's coming here, and it's saying, right, give the person levitation. And it's saying, well, no, they're exempt, so I'm not going to give it levitation. So this doesn't get done, this doesn't get done, this doesn't get done, this doesn't get done, and this doesn't get done. So what we might do, if you want, you can always go along and change these. And then if you throw it, your scroll still disappears. So you still use your scroll. You haven't got any bonus, like that. Let's see if we can actually keep some of them. So that's the sound. We probably want to keep the sound. So if you give one effect, then you're going to give the other one. So we can probably have that conditional. We'll keep the particles. Okay, so we'll just make those two conditional, and we'll change all of those. Throw it on the floor. Oh dear, we wasted it. I'm sure I had two pigs. There's the other one. Perfect. Okay, so let's actually change what we're doing to them. So we'll change this back to jump boost for 5 seconds, 128. And this one would be slowness for 5 seconds, 128. There we go. Now we're freezing them in place. He wasn't moving anyway, so it's hard to tell. Yeah, I know. Silly pig. Okay, there we go. This will work on entities and other players. And still based on the ideas by ArcticPandaPro, who also said, if it's just for entities, couldn't we just remove their AI? And I think that's an interesting idea. So if you just wanted a scroll that didn't work on players, instead of using the jump boost and the slowness, maybe we could just actually remove their AI. That might have a bonus effect, that it might stop creepers from blowing up. I'm not going to experiment. You can experiment yourselves. Creepers might blow up even if they're standing there frozen. They're still looking at you and they're still angry with you. But if you remove their AI, they're completely frozen. They won't blow up. So I think I might. If you're interested in seeing the version that removes their AI, make a comment and we'll probably make that one as well. Anyway, that's enough for now. That's the improved version of the free scroll. See you next time. Bye bye.